Hello and welcome to TNWKS, the Now We Know show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learnt something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zach.
I'm Buzz.
And I'm Jack.
And in this week's spooktacular episode, we are talking about our favourite top three movies that we'd choose, if we had nothing else to watch, we'd choose to watch over Halloween. Because Halloween, let's face it, is all about watching movies.
Horror movies.
Exactly.
Spooky.
But I wonder what we've chosen. Will it be the same as yours, the listeners? Let's find out.
If you enjoy the Now We Know show podcast, support Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon or join our members on YouTube for early access, ad-free content and exclusive episodes. So before we get into our top picks of horror movies to watch over Halloween, it's time for, you guessed it,
Weird and Wonderful!
And yes, I brought another spook.
Another one. You're really hot to trot on these, aren't you?
I thought I'd do the Halloween season, so I brought another spooktacular, weird
and wonderful story.
Well, it's up to you to decide whether it's weird and wonderful.
Or wonderful.
Weird,
or wonderful.
or wonderful.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. So this one caught my eye. Miami teacher showed Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey to 4th grade class. A mental health counsellor has met with students who expressed concern.
Oh dear.
Oh, dear.
Exactly.
So if anyone's that's not aware, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, basically the copyright ran out for Winnie the Pooh
Okay.
or something along the lines of it became basically fair trade to make a Winnie the Pooh film.
Yeah.
So I think he's a horror film director, decided to make a slasher film based on the property of Winnie the Pooh and his friend.
Unfortunately,
Oh, no.
I think this teacher made a particular boo-boo
Yes.
because they decided to show it to 9 to 10-year-olds.
Could say she made a poo-poo.
So, 4th graders at K-12 charter school in Miami Springs got an upsetting Halloween surprise when their teacher screened the horror movie Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Despite the title of the film including Winnie the Pooh, the movie is not suitable for children as it follows Winnie and Piglet on a bloodthirsty rampage after Christopher Robin abandons them to go to college.
Oh no. Oh no.
The film was shown to 4th graders at the Academy of Innovative Education on the 2nd of October. Oh, bless.
I've
Oh,
heard
dear.
rumours that he wants to do a Peter Pan as well.
I thought they were definitely doing a sequel to
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh with Tigger.
It turns out that Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey was released without a rating,
Oh.
which could explain how the film ended up as an option for the 4th graders
Really?
to watch.
It's still called Blood and Honey. Surely that would be the red flag.
I mean, even I've seen the front cover and it's very clearly a horror movie. That's hilarious.
This is,
That's
Another
hilarious.
win for physical media, because if it wasn't streaming, she would have noticed that it was a horror film.
Mm.
Whereas if she had it on physical media, she would have seen the horrific
Yes.
cover.
Miss Vera Hirsch, the head of the school, sent the following statement to CBS News. We are actively monitoring the students, and our mental health counsellor and principal have already met with those students who have expressed concerns.
Concerns. Simply put them in nightmares.
Turns out the film director Reese Waterfield revealed in an interview with Variety last year that he shot the project in only 10 days near the Ashdown Forest in England, the inspiration for the 100-acre wood as depicted in the original Winnie the Pooh stories. The characters entered the public domain last year, but to avoid copyright issues with Disney, which owns the interpretations of the characters as seen in various films and television shows, certain elements were changed, including swapping Winnie the Pooh's red shirt for a lumberjack gear and omitting characters like Tigger.
Oh.
Who may be appearing in the
Who
sequel.
might be appearing in the sequel. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so I just thought... It just reminded me of that occasion when I went into that bargain bucket and picked out what I thought was it's kind of like a modern day Thunderbirds movie.
Oh no! Yeah, I remember
Team
this.
America. And
America.
Oh,
well, it just
yeah.
looked like, it was puppets. And I thought, oh yeah, so I stuck that in and walked out. And then when I came in 10 minutes later, or 15 or 20 minutes later, and Zach's like watching this movie, and I'm going, what
the hell is going on here? Did the little tiny rating on the corner, did that not give it away?
No, I didn't look at that.
No, it just
I
looked
thought,
like
oh,
puppets.
it's a modern day puppet movie.
Oh, I'm not going to say it. I can't say any of the quotes from that film.
No. So, to America.
That's actually quite interesting.
Yay.
It's really interesting that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey was actually filmed in England. I didn't know about that.
Oh, there you go. But yeah, so school teacher made a bit of a boo-boo there, but I thought it was quite an amusing.
It's actually really
weird,
hilarious.
but wonderful.
And it does
Yes.
quite tie into this episode really well.
Yes, so this episode, really excited about this one. Top 3 movies, difficult one to do.
So we have each chosen our 3 top movies. So in all, there could be 9 separate movies we're going to be talking about.
But these aren't.
So
top...
is this, yeah. So my question was, will this be our favourite horror films of all time? Will this be sort of our favourite films to watch at Halloween? Because they're not necessarily the same thing.
It's favourite horror movies, your top 3 favourite horror movies that you have. If you had no other choice, you had to choose 3 movies that you would want to watch at Halloween.
Right.
So a bit like, what would what your favourite movies to watch any time? What would be your top 3 movies to say watch at Christmas, because it's a season. So we're talking about the Halloween season. Top 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Are we recommending these to the audience who may have not seen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would.
Now,
I would.
Now, I don't know what you've chosen.
I don't know what you've chosen.
I don't know what I've chosen.
Okay.
Oh.
And we don't know what anybody else has chosen.
Yeah.
But the point is, we might double up.
Right.
So, as we come from number 3 to number 1, if you get a snap, you can shout.
Snap.
Or whatever you want to
We
shout.
need a more Halloweeny name,
Okay.
a Halloweeny word for that, I think.
Okay, I can't think of
Scream. Just scream.
Say, I've got that one, but you don't have to reveal in your top 3 where it is.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Okay. Sounds
So,
good?
so are we going one person does all 3 of their films, or are we going number 3 of all of us and then move to number 2?
I think we'll do one each, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
333 222 111, and then honourable mentions.
Oh, I haven't really thought about that, but yeah, I'm sure I can pull a few out of the bag.
Okay. Out of the Halloween bag of sweets.
The trick or treat bucket.
Yeah, you got to pull them out the trick or treat bucket.
Yeah, they have them on like poles now, so you don't have the physical contact between
Oh, did you see that video? I sent you the video.
Hands.
Jack, there was this brilliant video. There's this guy, and he's got his son standing on the doorstep.
Oh, that's
with a
hilarious.
bag.
Yeah.
And he's ringing the bell, and these people are coming out and going, oh, yeah, he's got this little kids in a Spider-Man outfit. And they go, oh, great. So they're like putting all these sweets in his bag. And then the guy just picked up the dummy, because he turned out it's just a dummy dressed up as Spider-Man and walking off with all these sweets. And then they put it on somebody else's doorstep,
Wow,
ring the bell,
genius.
and they're coming out going, oh, what a great costume. And they put it on his back, and the guy's just like picking it up over his shoulder and walking off. I thought it was quite inspiring.
A Halloween hack for you.
Anyway, yes.
Free
if you want-
candy,
if you haven't
free
got-
candy.
If you haven't got any children and you want candy, just get yourself a dummy.
Yeah, just go at any time of the year.
Yes,
No,
it-
not
Out of
every-
Not
context,
anytime,
out of
yeah.
context,
Not
that
anytime.
sounds very strange.
Get the children, get the dummy. I suppose that's a bit bizarre. Why do you say that? Because I've got a good friend that actually collects those sort of like better than life babies.
yeah.
They look like real life babies, apart from they're not. So she takes them out in pushchairs. and
like
stuff.
dolls, like
Yeah, they're
kids' dolls.
dolls, but they're called what are they called?
Newborns or something.
Yes.
Anyway, horror movies.
Horror movies, but they are quite horrible, because I remember a couple along and all these women were cooing around this baby. It was asleep. So they go, oh, look how wonderful it is.
Well, okay.
And then I put my hand in the car
so-
and pulled
There you
it
go.
out by the leg.
First
And
honourable
it's like,
mention. Have you ever seen a film called The Boy?
The boy.
No.
A film similar to that, where they've got a doll.
Oh, I was going to mention Megan because of that.
I mean,
It's
that's
kind
more
of like
of like a robot, but
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
The Boy is actually like a kind of doll. Isn't it?
Bit like
And you've also got Chucky / Child's Play.
There
I
you go.
haven't seen those.
Anyway,
So they won't be.
who's
on your
going
list.
first?
Spoiler.
Who's going first? The listeners are
I don't
chomping at
know.
the
I
bit.
don't know.
Number 3. It's Halloween spooky. Whoa.
I'm slightly
Who's
scared to
going
go.
for
I'm
number 3?
approhensive to go first.
All right. Well, Jack, you can go first.
Okay,
Number 3.
I'll go first. Okay.
Then we can discuss briefly movie.
So my number 3.
Yep.
You may have this in your list. I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll find out if there's a scream.
So last year,
Yep.
I think it was last year, we watched the Evil Dead trilogy.
Uh-huh.
Snap.
And it was straight away.
He hasn't said whether that's on his list.
But
Oh.
so I've gone for the Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead at number 3.
Oh dear. Okay, we might be talking about.
I've got to check my list.
This is the problem with anonymous list making.
Funny enough,
Okay,
that's on my list.
that's on my list as well.
So it's 1, 2, and 3 for me. So this might be a short podcast.
Okay, so you'll go for the original Evil
Yes,
Dead.
1981, Sam Raimi. As a kind of filmmaker, it's one of my sort of inspirational films. If I ever want sort of inspiration on to make a low budget film, it's always the film I go to because of how much he achieved on such a small budget. Obviously, the sequels then kind of improved on that with bigger budgets and sort of more outlandish stories and everything. But the original for me is such a simple idea, executed so well. The monsters are scary. It's got that sort of cabin in the woods, which you want for a Halloween film. Atmosphere, obviously, it's got a really good atmosphere. Some sort of comedic moments.
Yep.
Probably
Well,
Sprinkled out.
more so in the sequels.
I'm going to chime in on this one because I was there. I was there when it came
You were
out.
in the cabin.
I wasn't in the cabin. I
You're
was
a
there.
Deadite.
You played the
I was
Necronomicon.
there when that movie was released on VHS video.
Pulls the mask off, it's Bruce Campbell. Oh my god.
Hi, Bruce.
and that was one of the original video nasties that got banned.
Yeah.
And I remember myself and some friends, his girlfriend had the downstairs on a Victorian townhouse.
Okay.
And we hadn't watched the movie, but what we didn't until we started watching the movie, then it all sort of kind of went, ooh, this is creepy, because underneath the lounge where we were watching the movie was the cellar, and she had the cellar door in the floor of the lounge, right in front of the television. So there we were,
Perfect.
watching the Evil Dead for the first time. And everybody's feet are coming up onto the settees and chairs, just getting their feet off the floor, and everybody's focusing on the fact there's this big wooden trapdoor with a big ring right up in front of the video player.
It's like the original 4DX.
And it was like absolutely.
I assume this was on VHS.
It was on VHS,
Wow.
but we'd never seen anything like it because, as you say, the deadites, the creepiness of the fact that people are becoming possessed by these deadites, and then the track. You
got the point of view camera work.
The POV camera work coming through the woods and everything. Not seen anything like that.
And what's genius about that camera is obviously the actors and the characters are responding to that, whatever that thing is that's chasing them through the woods, but we never see
that was it. You
what
never
it is.
actually got to see this thing that was like
This
slamming,
ominous force.
slamming doors open and everything. And of course it has the iconic and obviously one of the reasons it got banned was because of the tree rape scene in it as well.
Right, yeah.
Right.
I don't know if they cut that out and then they put it in.
I don't know.
It's interesting that they then did it again in the 2013 remake. So
Yeah.
I thought they would kind of either adapt it or change it, but they went for it. So
Yeah,
fair
they
enough.
did. They did.
Evil Dead, definitely. That's because I love the movie for all the reasons you say, and I love the movie because it brings back the memories of that night of actually.
There's
being-
that such an ominous feeling about the atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's like,
And the fact you can't escape, and you get things in it like when he's trying to escape from the cabin, and they drive to the bridge, and the bridge, the steel bridge has all been buckled up like
It's almost like a
hand.
fist,
like a hand,
yeah.
like claws.
stop it, you can't leave.
You can't leave,
But it's because again, like a lot of the films I like, the sort of 70s, 80s horror, it's been done so many times now since then that it almost, when you watch it with modern eyes, it's almost become just like a generic horror film. But you got to remember at the time, like
It's
you
just
said,
very-
there was
very
nothing like it.
Groundbreaking.
Yeah, and it was also again the combination between the makeup and the fact that they also used stop motion animation in there.
Oh, especially in that ending, yeah.
It's just a crazy movie, which is just fantastic, iconic of its time.
I mean,
Watch it over and over again.
Again, it's one of those films that you can, as a filmmaker, you can delve deeper into and talk about how they actually made the film. Like the actual POV camera is just Sam Raimi with a camera on a piece of wood.
Yeah,
it's such a simple thing, but it's so effective and it's like so iconic now.
And it tweaks the right things because it's like the clock ticking.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
tick, and it stops, and it's like, what's going to happen
Is,
next? And
is,
then-
that, is that in the first one where the POV camera goes through the car? Is that the first one? It goes through the back window of the car and then comes out the front window.
I can't remember.
It was one of them. It was really impressive. That
Probably
shot.
the second one, I'd imagine, if he has more sort of
Possibly.
budget.
Yeah.
There's actually a kind of
I think it was one of the first movies. Sorry to interject, Jack, but I think it was one of the first movies also that the sequel started. For me, that I remember at the time is where the second movie started exactly where the first movie stopped.
Sort of. It kind of like
It's kind of like a
reboots slightly.
yeah.
It's a strange one. Because I remember watching. Me and Zach watched Evil Dead 2 way back in the day when we were younger, and I'd only ever seen the second one. So the opening of Evil Dead 2, I just assumed was the opening of Evil Dead 2. I didn't realise there was a whole separate film that was like.
Well, that's the thing, because
telling
that's the way I remember it. Because at the end of the first Evil Dead, you've got that POV camera coming through the woods and then through the back of the cabin and through all the doors, and then there's Ash on the veranda kind of thing as it's Ash, and he like turns around and
goes into his face.
And then the second one, I think it starts off with a little preamble.
It does,
it?
yeah. It
But
does a little.
it goes from the point where he's on the veranda, and then it's like he himself is lifted off and goes through all the treetops.
It does a brief kind of refilmed flashback.
Yeah.
Of
I
think there's a different. His girlfriend character's a different actress,
And there's less characters.
and
It's just two of them, isn't it?
they don't refer to the other characters that are in the first one. It's just him and his girlfriend.
Yeah. So for me, I kind of watch it from the point he gets lifted off the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's.
But there's lots of theories that you could say that the Deadites are kind of messing with his mind, and he's seeing that flashback as kind of like a perfect version or
it's
something.
definitely the second one where they pick up on the humour.
Yeah, the second one's a lot more action, comedy, sort of slapstick, I guess.
Especially with that whole first sequence of him and his hand.
Yeah.
But I think you can
the books that they're putting on says what was it, Goodbye to Arms or something. It's one of the books.
You can just tell, obviously, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell were good friends growing up, and they always wanted to make films. So you can just tell how much fun they had making the first film, and then the second one, when they've got a bit more money behind them, even they just sort of elevate that fun, and it's just.
The thing is, it's just gone on and on and on, and it's become iconic because it's even appeared in other films. You've had the Deadites in.
Well, you've had the
movies.
Necronomicon in the 9th Friday the 13th movie,
There you go.
and in Pumpkinhead 2.
Got video games, TV series, sequels very recently.
Any noticeable moments, like iconic moments that you reckon that stand out to you, or maybe even the goriest moments? Because I certainly have one from the first one.
Well, I've discussed things such as the camera zoom.
For me, the one moment that really gets me is the HB pencil to the ankle.
Oh, right.
It's so brutal.
Yeah, boom.
And the effects, the physical effects on it are amazing.
I think also the white eyes that they put on the Deadites.
I was going to say, when the other chap in it, he suddenly comes up, I think he's been knocked about or something, and suddenly he stands up and his eyes are turned white and he's got all the black veins. It's like, it's just the movement of the characters.
Apparently they were very thick white glass
Ouch.
contact lenses. That just shows the kind of limitations they were facing.
Ouch. That sounds painful.
Bizarre to the actors to be able to
I would act like a possessed zombie in that sense if I had those.
But I think, am I right in saying the original would have then gained popularity once the second one sort of came out? Because they kind of banned.
Because it was a video nasty, it still it did the rounds, and everybody obviously, like anything that you ban, people wanted to see the things that are banned. So it becomes kind of like, I really want to see that. And of course, if you say to your friends, "Oh, I've seen The Evil Dead," and they go, "Oh, that's really bad. I can't get hold of it. I can't see it." So it's kind of, I don't know whether that helped to promote it even. Yeah,
the kind of folklore around the film itself. Yeah. So I've wiped out 2 of your list already by accident.
Okay, so that was your number 3.
Do you want me to swap out for an honourable mention?
No, it's okay. That was your number 3, Jack.
That was my number 3.
I'll go for my number 3, which was The Evil Dead.
That was your number 3?
Yep.
Okay.
And what about you?
That was my number 1.
Oh.
That was my number 1. It was Evil Dead.
And we've started with me as well, so
So it's back to Jack then.
Okay. I need to get my list back out. That came around a lot.
Well, I have a number 3.
I
do have a number 3.
Oh yeah, of course you have a number 3, Jack.
Yeah.
Stop it. Yeah.
So what was your number 3?
My number 3 was The Evil Dead.
Oh, okay. Evil Dead was my number 1.
Okay.
So my number 3, just to make this not confusing, is The Descent.
Ooh, good choice.
I thought that was a good choice.
Good choice.
I thought it was a good choice.
Probably one of the best movies for the best timed jump scares
What
going.
Very underrated, isn't it?
What I really like about The Descent is the fact that it is very scary. Even I can watch it and be like, that's pretty freaky.
They got the jump scares perfect.
On point, yeah.
On point. And the fact that you combine that with the claustrophobia of being in caves.
Yes,
And,
yes.
And the fact of being, like, I'm not bothered by going into caves, but when you get into a really confined space, and I'm not claustrophobic, but when you get into a small tunnel and you're thinking, you let your mind run away with you, that I have got thousands upon thousands of tons of rock above me, and then you hear that crack. Something shifts and you go, get out! It's a bit like in Predator versus Alien.
Alien versus Predator.
Where they're going through that maze and they're just getting out before the ceiling slammed down. You sort of that moment of getting your feet out. And even with Indiana Jones' Temple of Doom, his hat comes off and he sticks his arm through just to grab that.
Just in time.
And it's a trope that's been shown in so many different movies, but it's that. Nobody wants the feeling of being crushed.
I think it's the fact that these creatures are sound. They go by sound.
Yeah, because it's in complete darkness. Ooh, that's creepy. Are you one of these? They're kind of like bats. They're creatures.
Sending out their
echolocation.
Echolocation.
It's kind of if Gollum decided to be some kind of freaky cannibal. I mean, he is, but like
even more freaky.
They're almost like moles, aren't they? Mole men.
Yeah, batty kind of mole creatures.
And again, within the jump scares, you have those moments where people are talking, they're chatting, then somebody will just turn a light on, and suddenly they realise that all the time they've been chatting, something has literally been standing behind their shoulder.
Because that's the thing. I think it's a group of 5 women who go down into this cave system, and they go in under the impression that it's something that's already been mapped out.
Well, that's because of those.
But one of the characters, I believe the character is Juno. I think that's the name of the
leader of them. Yeah.
Who's kind of organising it, has actually faked that. Has lied, and it's actually an undiscovered cave system.
She wants to
discover it,
surprise them, and also claim the fact that they've managed to discover.
And there's a very good shot where you can actually see them heading towards the cave, and they've left the map in the car, and it's kind of like, oh, something's not quite right here.
Yeah.
And then obviously they go down into the cave, and it's all fun, happy. Then they start going through these really tight spaces.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's so tight.
Claustrophobia starts to build.
And then
a collapse happens.
And then they're stuck down there.
And it's like, that's no problem. We know what cave system we're in. There are plenty of ways to get out of here. And it's like,
who's got the map?
Nobody's got the map. And then it's,
by the way,
we're not actually in that cave system.
Yeah.
And it's just the gradual thing. And then they find other people have been in there in the past. They find
old like mining stuff as well.
Old steel, rusty pitons and stuff.
Am I right in saying the same director as Dog Soldiers as
yes.
well? Yes.
Neil Marshall.
Neil Marshall. What he does really well is like he has a lot of like very, how do I explain it? It's sort of relatable experience sort of settings. Is that the right term? Where like you can see yourself, like you said with the claustrophobia, you can see yourself. It's a very real fear. You can see yourself in instantly.
Yeah.
And when you add these creatures into it, it ups
the
sort of tension.
It's like for me being on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
Totally open, but you're exposed, and I get what I call the wobbly legs. I climb, and I've been out climbing with Zak many times, and we do 200-300 foot abseils. Not a bother because I know my equipment. I've triple checked my equipment and all the anchor points and the ropes and everything. But when I'm not wearing any equipment and I get near the edge of something,
you then feel it. You then feel
that. But that's the primeval instinct, isn't it?
Exactly. It's your body trying to make sure it saves you from danger, and that movie does it so well.
Yeah. Well, that's the saying, isn't it? When you're born, you're only scared of 2 things: the dark and falling. It's like an inherent thing.
Well, it's not the fall that kills you; it's the landing.
Well, yeah, I know that.
It's the sudden stop.
Yes.
Well, try and calculate that. Let's just monitor your heart rate whilst you.
But brilliant.
See if you pass out.
If anybody's listening and haven't seen The Descent, it's definitely one to dig out.
I'm sure a lot of people probably have missed this one because it is sort of one that sort of doesn't get mentioned a lot. In sort of horror. And if I remember, part 2 is okay. It's a little bit sort of
again,
pointless.
it's interesting enough. It's another one that starts off pretty much exactly where the first one finished.
Yeah, it's very true. I do like the second one. I do like it.
Yeah.
Probably not as good as the first, but if you want to watch it, then
if you enjoyed the first one, watch the second one.
I just feel like the second one kind of doesn't go anywhere. It sort of progresses the story, but then sort of ends up back where it started. So you're sort of like,
it's just watching a bit more of the same.
It's like an epilogue.
That's not meant to diminish the quality
not
of the first
one.
one.
The first one's incredible.
Moments in the film that I would like to bring attention to. One is obviously the ending, but I'm not going to talk about that for the precise reason It's very, very good. I would stick watching the film just for that ending. It's really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But the other one is when they start fighting off these
This is another spoiler.
underground creatures, and then there's this big jump scare that is very shocking.
Yeah,
And then it's like, oh no.
it's a real
Like,
turnaround jump.
yeah,
scare. I
yeah.
know the one you're talking about, and I don't think we should spoil it for the listeners. If
No, but it's a good movie, okay? It's a really good movie.
It's one of those timings where it happens and you go,
Crap.
I would say as well, if anyone has not seen it, stick with it as well, because it is quite a slow burn of a film.
yeah.
And the initial sort of half an hour or so is a lot of kind of
I would definitely
cave
I
stuff.
would definitely say if you've never seen it before, if you were taking it off a shelf and you think, well, I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
We haven't listened to the Now We Know Show podcast. I don't know what this is.
That's actually...
You know,
Ooh,
it kind
okay.
of, you don't know where it's going.
yeah.
You know.
That literally sprung like an idea in my mind about an honourable mention I didn't think of.
Go on.
Do you want me to say it?
We're doing honourable mentions at the end.
Yeah,
aren't we?
yeah, we're doing them at the end. Okay, we'll leave it to the end.
We'll leave it to the end.
Just try and remember it.
Try and remember it.
Okay. So, what was your third?
That was my third.
Right, now we're back to Jack.
Oh,
Unless you
okay.
want me to go.
I mean, you haven't gone yet.
I haven't
so
gone yet.
Okay.
You both had a go.
So is
you're on
this
to number
your...
This is my number two.
It's your number two.
Because my number
Ooh.
3 was The Evil Dead.
This is
I'm going to refer to my physical paper. So
Oh.
Jack's got his phone list.
physical media.
I've got my physical paper.
I've got my brain.
Okay. I'm going to wait for the screams. Put my fingers in my ears. Okay, my number 2 Halloween movie that I would definitely want to take with me to Halloween Island, The Lost Boys.
You're safe.
Oh!
You're safe.
Nobody put The Lost Boys down.
I am really happy you chose this because as we speak, I am somewhat...
You are looking
he's in
rather
a Lost Boys
Edgar.
phase.
Yeah, I'm in a Lost Boys
You're
phase.
Edgar Frog, aren't you?
Edgar.
Is that Corey Feldman?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And he does a superb job. In fact, to be fair, there's 2 other movies, The Tribe and The Thirst, that come after it, which, if you're a Lost Boys fan, I think are well worth watching. Tribe not as good as the
First or third one.
but the first one is iconic.
And the third one just wraps it up really
The
nicely.
fact you get vampires, and vampires are predominantly seen before this as maybe, your Dracula style vampire and all sorts of like creepy kind of vampires, and they're always seductive and trying to take you in. And with the Lost Boys, it's like the first movie where vampires come out and there's a group and they're really cool.
Yeah, cool
It's
vampires.
cool to be a vampire.
This is the...
It's very 80s cool, but it's cool.
But it's cool to be a vampire.
It is the top
Yeah.
of cool
If
vampires.
you want to be a vampire, you want to be in the Lost Boys, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's cool. Keith Sutherland does a fantastic job of being the leader of the group. Again, I'm not going to spoil it for those people. I'm sure most people have seen the Lost Boys, but there is obviously the twist in it.
I mean, straight off the bat, the music
Yeah.
is amazing.
The music all the way through is superb.
Very
I know,
80s.
but again, for people who were growing up in the 80s, what was it in 1982? Was it
87, I
87.
think.
A bit later, I think.
Later
Yeah.
than that. Did I write the date down? I didn't.
Because it was the same year as Near Dark,
Right.
which was after Aliens.
Yeah. And, well, there you go. You jumped in there. Honourable mentions, won't say it. Anyway, but yeah, so for me, The Lost Boys is just such an iconic movie, which annoys me that they put cuts in it when you watch it on terrestrial TV.
That is weird. That is so weird.
Oh, I got the 4K, so
Yeah,
it's,
yeah,
it's
so-
Lucky duck.
And the great thing with it also is, by the fact that you've got it on physical media, is you get to see the scenes that were deleted. But I personally think they add to the story if you get to watch the deleted scenes. And that, for me, I really enjoyed watching that. So much seeing the movie all these years later, then suddenly seeing some extra footage that I'd never seen before. I was like, wow, that's really cool.
I think one of my favourite scenes in that film, weirdly, is when they're hanging under the bridge.
Yep.
Into the fog.
Yeah, well, that's the iconic thing, isn't it? That's used on all the promotion.
So it's Michael, isn't it? I'm saying David. It's David's the other one.
Michael.
Yeah, no.
Come on down.
David's the leader.
And it's got Bill from Bill and Ted in it.
Yeah, as Marco.
which again was quite funny when I watched it for the first time. But yeah, again, it's just it just feels like the 80s. And,
Bit of Aerosmith on the soundtrack as well.
everything about it is, and I also like the fact that you get the impression that the granddad is not phased by any of the facts of all this stuff that's going on.
Yeah, that's funny.
All the time, like, he knows.
Okay, let's go to town. All right.
Yep.
Turns off car. That's
Yeah,
as close
that's
as town
close
I,
to town
oh,
as
I
I
like to
wanna
get.
You know, it's just great. You know, I just love that movie. So that was my number 2.
It's got that sort of the films don't really do it anymore. It's got that sort of Goonies Monster Squad style where it's like
Well,
you're
Corey Feldman was in the Goonies.
where the kids are kind of like the protagonists and you're
Yep.
discovering it along with them.
That's it. The adults. Well, again, yeah, because the adults kind of in it. They're not involved.
Yeah.
Initially.
But when you're watching it at that age, I can imagine it's like they're like your mates. Do you know what I mean? Like
They are.
of that time as well.
That's it.
Everything's sort of.
I
wish I could watch it at that
It's
age.
an interesting choice because to me, I wouldn't really consider The Lost Boys to be that scary, if at all scary.
I wouldn't say
It's-
it's a
it's-
scary film. No.
Like,
No,
the only scary thing is the vampires, but
But that's not what these 3 movies are meant to be about.
Yeah.
These 3 movies are meant to be about what you'd definitely take with you to watch for the Halloween season. For example, and I'll point this out straight away. You guys might have them on your list, but I haven't included things. I actually looked at some pre-lists on the internet
okay.
just to see what other people had put down for their top 10 lists and such like, and they were putting in things like Alien. I don't consider that a Halloween movie because that is sci-fi
I'd watch
horror.
that
Yeah,
anytime.
I know, but that's sci-fi horror. So I kind of condensed, made sure I stayed on the line of the supernatural and things that are associated with the Halloween season.
You do see a lot of like alien sort of things
So, like,
come up
with you and your Descent,
Halloween.
Yeah.
I wouldn't classify that as a Halloween movie.
Yeah, but it's scary.
That wouldn't have gone on my list because
Yeah.
wouldn't have gone on my list.
Now
Wouldn't
you
have
say
gone on my
that.
list because it's not supernatural.
But I would choose to watch something scary at Halloween.
No, I agree with what you're saying. But then you can watch something scary any season.
But then Lost Boys, that you said, isn't scary.
Yeah, but it's vampires, supernatural.
Right.
Fits in with the Halloween theme.
I mean, Evil Dead's scary. That's supernatural.
that's definitely
Jack's
supernatural.
winning. This is why Evil Dead was my number 1.
Yeah, well, there you go. I'll be interested to see how it turns around. So that was my number 2.
It's a very solid choice. So we've had both 80s films.
Yeah,
Actually, no.
Mine was 2005.
2005. So we've had 2000s.
Yours
So
is the first one to get into the 21st century.
is it my turn?
Yeah, it's your
Yeah,
turn.
Okay,
go
so
on.
my number 2 pick is from 1992,
Okay.
and it is titled Bram Stoker's Dracula
Oh,
by Francis Ford Coppola.
Ooh.
good old Dracula.
Now, it's not the greatest Dracula interpretation,
I see what you mean, yeah.
but for some reason I just really enjoy the film, especially at Halloween. It's one that we revisit a lot at Halloween in my household. And it's got that sort of very gothic
No, I can see where you can. And the main actor, what's his name?
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman. He does a fantastic. In fact, he
could play
shines
anything.
within the movie, doesn't
I mean, his shadow itself is a character as well.
he? Yes. We shall not talk about the English accent from
Keanu Reeves.
Reeves.
Keanu Reeves is an anomaly in that film.
Yeah, that is the thing, yeah.
There's one, I
Mina.
think it's Winona Ryder as well.
Yeah.
She's
Winona Ryder.
not really got the greatest English accent either. But
It was a strange choice actually for those two characters.
Well, it was Francis Ford Coppola, wasn't it?
yes, yeah.
But but again, the transformations in it and things, from vampire to
Yeah,
werewolf,
that kind of
wolf,
bat wolf vampire thing. It's very
stomping
creepy.
around in the office. Suddenly he's like 10 feet tall, touching the ceiling.
Yeah.
So I'm yet to read the book Dracula.
Oh, you never
It's
read the
one
actual book?
I've got it. It's on my very recent list of things I need to read.
That's okay. You,
But,
you could be a super fan without reading the book.
We'll get to that. But I've heard it's quite similar. It sort of borrows a lot from the book. That sort of the fact that he can sort of transform into different animals and things, which again adds to the kind of realism of the film. Not
No,
realism, but sort
I
of-
like that movie. Again, I'll watch it again and again. I have watched it again and again. There's certain aspects
It's
of it.
got Anthony Hopkins in it as well, playing
Yes,
Van
it's
Helsing.
Van Helsing, yeah. Richard E. Grant
Yes, yeah.
makes an
He's
appearance.
Lucy's.
Dr.
Isn't he
Seward.
Lucy's, not fiance, but I think he fancies Lucy, the one who turns into the vampire.
Yeah, he's Dr. Seward, who's
That's
like
it.
the asylum guy.
Got him in the asylum where, would you like a canapé?
Yeah, because he's got Renfield in the asylum, hasn't he?
Renfield. But I love the fact that the guards are walking around with these
With the-
square steel boxes on their heads,
Yeah.
the cages on their heads, so they can't be bitten or attacked by the inmates.
But it's got that kind of like I said earlier, like that sort of gothic.
Yeah, it's a
horror
very rich feel to it.
But it's also like it relies a lot, especially because it's 1992. expect at this point very early kind of computer effects to come in, but it still sticks to that very traditional practical effects.
Yeah.
And one of my favourite shots is you see Harker on the train on the way to Transylvania, and you can see Gary Oldman's Dracula in the sky, sort of looking over the train. It's just a really cool.
Oh, damn, I'm gonna have to watch this again.
It's just very. I really like that shot because
they
it's got
put lots of little bits like that in there, don't they?
yeah.
One thing I really like about it is it's probably a very minor thing, but they actually go back to what was actually in the novel with the how Dracula was originally killed.
Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, but it was with the Bowie knife at the end instead of a stake or anything like in the Universal Monsters.
I heard that Vlad the Impaler was only introduced in that film though. That was the first time Dracula was considered to be Vlad the Impaler. Was that?
Well, I was talking about how Dracula was killed.
Yeah, I mean they presented right at the beginning of the movie that big montage of how he's going around impaling people.
But I always assumed that was like just Dracula tradition, but it's not. Apparently, it only started in that film.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, but Dracula, the character, Bram Stoker's Dracula, was meant to be based on Vlad the Impaler.
I don't know. That's what I've heard.
Maybe it was explicitly shown.
Yeah.
I think you might be right in that's kind of where the first movie was shown, that connection between the characters.
I think as well because we're quite. If you think of Dracula, you think of that Universal Bela Lugosi Dracula because it's just become especially as it's Halloween. Any sort of iconography of a vampire is always based on that Universal Dracula. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things I love about Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I am here
Coppola
to drink your blood.
Is he's kind of like this? I guess he's sort of a mixture between like the Nosferatu and the sort of traditional Dracula. So
yeah, good choice.
It's a film I revisit often, and I very enjoy watching it at Halloween.
Yes, so you would take that to Halloween Island.
Halloween Island.
Okay,
that comes to me in then, doesn't it?
I'm gonna go. So my number 2
Your
pick.
number 2.
And my second from first, which is obviously Evil Dead. So my second pick and last pick of this particular podcast, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nope. Didn't go
Wow. Okay.
I actually made the choice to avoid the big hitters.
Yeah.
So to avoid Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. I avoided those.
All the slashers.
Because I'm going to see those anytime, all the time. I wanted to choose something that was out of the box on those.
Well, anyway.
There had to be one slasher in here
Yeah,
somewhere.
it's you, Zach. You're the slasher.
Oh, no. I do have a few sharp, pointy things lying around. No, I don't.
That's
just a couple
Edgar
of...
Frog, that's why.
It's actually a steak.
Yeah, everyone for steak.
There's just a couple of broken digestives in here.
Who ordered the steak?
That's the one.
And then he pulls out the steaks
Yes, I got
to kill the vampires. Anyway, so A Nightmare on Elm Street. One thing I really love about Nightmare on Elm Street as opposed to other slasher movies is obviously Freddy Krueger. He has a personality. He's talking to you. He's taunting you the entire time.
Yeah, he was a real good, different breath of fresh air when it came to that kind of character.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of had before that. You obviously had your Michael Myers, Jason, which were more sort of
silent walkers.
lumbering zombies.
Yeah, that's it. That's
slice you
literally
down.
it.
Whereas Freddy Krueger, what the unique thing about that is even when you're asleep and you're safe in your bed, you can't escape him. He's always in your dreams.
He's always there.
I had a girlfriend at the time that I took to the cinema when that came out, and we watched it. And Sarita, bless her, we're still friends. She lives in Luxembourg now, but she never forgave me because she watched it and then she literally couldn't sleep for weeks because she felt that her only safe place was in when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
And suddenly there's this thing, this character that's suddenly put in her subconscious that can attack you when you're asleep. And that freaked her out completely.
That's the genius of it, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in fact, it reminds me of another friend at school whose name escapes me, but I didn't go to the cinema when he went to the cinema, but he went with some other friends of mine, and he got to about halfway through the movie and he had to leave the cinema. And the doctor actually gave him tablets to try and calm his nerves.
To stop him dreaming.
Now that might
in the sequels.
That might seem to those people listening kind of a big overreaction, but at the time that came out, nobody had seen anything like that.
That's only people you know. That would have happened worldwide of anyone that's seen the film.
Yeah, definitely. Now, speaking of cinema trips, that is exactly what we did last year. So last Halloween, we went to go and see.
It feels like longer ago.
A Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's when I was dressed up as a killer clown.
That was funny. That was really noticeable.
Are you sure that was a year, not 2 years?
That was last year.
Wow.
That was last year.
Gosh.
I was dressed as Freddy Krueger. Obviously, I wasn't as burned or severely injured.
What did you go as, Jake? Scarecrow, weren't you?
And I think you gave me your Jason mask. I thought.
Yes,
Jason.
that was it.
Right, you went as Jason, that's it.
We're a very small Jason.
He's a very small man.
Oh, it had Johnny Depp in it, didn't it?
Johnny Depp,
What,
one
in
of
his
his.
mask?
No, not in the
How did he get
cinema.
in there?
Not in the cinema.
I believe it's Johnny
Wearing a
Depp's
mask.
first appearance.
Yes,
because it does say
Yeah,
introducing
it's
Johnny
Johnny
Depp,
Depp.
which is quite a milestone.
Quite a big thing. That's when he gets pulled into the bed, isn't it?
Mm.
And blood slots
Oh,
flying
yeah.
everywhere.
Yes.
That's that
Yeah,
iconic moment that always comes up on the documentaries.
When it all just comes out there.
Was that? I think Wes Craven put together the rotating room, didn't
Yeah, I
he?
think it was one of the first movies that had that.
Oh, yeah, that's...
Although
yeah.
2001, Space Odyssey uses it on the ship when they're.
But I
running
think
around the
when
ship.
that came out, because you had the girl, the first one that gets killed.
Yeah.
She's going up the wall, and it's cutting between the view of the boyfriend looking at her, and she's getting pushed up the wall and then onto the ceiling above the bed.
Yeah, and it's like so surreal because she's like floating around in like the middle of the room and it's like, how the heck is this?
How's this going?
What?
I need to watch that scene again and look at the furniture and see if anything like starts to move, like the bed covers or anything.
Because you'd have to really glue it down, wouldn't you?
It's hard to explain that effect actually to someone that can't visualize it. But basically, the room's turning,
Yeah.
but the camera's fixed,
Camera's fixed.
Yeah,
so
that-
everything appears to be moving.
So the character in the actual box moves. Looks like they're the one that's moving.
But it's actually
The room.
the room.
Very clever idea.
Very good.
Yeah. And they use a similar thing in The Fly, don't they?
Yes.
David Cronenberg's
Yeah,
The Fly.
Yeah.
So there you go. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
That's
love
a
it.
good call.
Love it. Definitely
But
recommended.
That's definitely a Halloweeny.
It's a classic.
Because
it's a classic.
it's supernatural. you
And
see.
scary.
And scary.
And spawned obviously a very iconic slasher.
Oh, God,
villain.
you cannot have a kind of probably more of an iconic person than Freddy and his glove.
Yeah.
I mean, the person who designed the glove is like, we need something more than a knife and a hatchet or a
machete.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wes Craven did pretty well at sort of creating iconic horror characters.
And I think it's also the noise because everybody hates the sound. Obviously, I think at school these days you just don't have blackboards, but when you run your nails down the blackboard, like they did in Jaws.
Yeah.
Everybody hates that sound.
Yeah.
And of course, they did that with the knives as he scrapes it along the metal, that squeaky noise. And it's just, again, it goes up the back of your neck.
Is Jaws a Halloween film?
Ooh.
No. It's not a supernatural.
But is it a horror movie or is it creature feature?
It's a horror movie.
How
creature feature.
specific are we going with this?
I think it is technically classed as a horror film.
It's a horror creature feature. It's not a
Subgenre.
kaiju because
Hybrid genre.
It might be slightly big shark, but it's not an
Horror
Meg.
subcategory creature feature.
Does that mean The Meg is a Halloween film?
No, because
It's
it's not
funny.
supernatural, is it?
It's kind of funny. I don't know. Creature feature. It's more of a creature feature.
Okay.
Creature
Anyway,
from the
so
Black Lagoon.
that was your number 2.
That was my number 2.
Right, so we're all on our number 1s now.
Yes, mine
Apart
was
from yours.
mine was Evil Dead.
yours got blown. Okay. So who wants to field it? It's either me or you, Jack.
I'll go first because I may have already spoken at length about this film.
Okay.
Oh,
So my number 1 is 1973's The Exorcist.
It had to be.
Because it is a film I do watch every Halloween. I actually watched it during a thunderstorm at Halloween, which is a very
Did you make you feel sick?
it was a very sort of what's the word
sensory.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 4DX.
That's it, 4DX. Chair shaking. Hang on a minute. Why is my chair shaking?
No, that's just an earthquake. Or maybe it's some kind of
Pazuzu.
demon. Yeah,
So
Pazuzu.
yeah, a bit of promotion for a previous episode we did speak about on the super fans in quotation marks episode. I did speak at length about The Exorcist.
Go and listen to episode 70 of the Now We Know Show podcast to find out all about The Exorcist.
And adding to that as well, obviously we went to see a Shocktober screening, which was a special screening of the anniversary. Which again, watching that in October.
Did it have the laughing man in there?
He wasn't in this one, but he was in the last two we watched.
I've been hearing from Zak. Every
yeah.
time you go to the cinema to watch one of these movies, there's a guy that's always sitting
He
behind
finds
you.
everything
He keeps
funny.
laughing.
I've never known anyone find
Hellraiser was apparently hilarious.
The funniest movie going.
Friday the 13th, an absolute
a
ball.
comedy, a comedy
It was
classic.
it was like watching the Heidi High.
Yeah, you'd think there would be a lot of goths and emos in Hellraiser, but they actually turned out to be far more goths and emos in Friday the 13th.
In the cinema, not
In the cinema.
I reckon they gave him audio description, but they gave him the wrong soundtrack.
Aha! It's like that emu or whatever it is from Family Guy.
Yeah.
So, the laughing man wasn't in The Exorcist, so you got away with it.
But yeah, for me, The Exorcist has a very sort of creepy tone the whole way through. The atmosphere itself is just unnerving.
Totally 100% Halloween movie.
Yes.
That one.
Oh,
I'd
so it's
imagine-
okay that it's scary.
No, but it is a possession by a demon. You know,
Yeah.
it's supernatural. That's
Well, the
what-
creatures in The Descent could be
No,
demons.
No.
No,
No.
No.
Can't
not
be
at
making
all.
assumptions.
Oh,
You
sorry.
know what happens when you make assumptions? You make an ass of you and umption.
Hey.
That's a quote from something. Do
Yeah,
you remember what film?
I do.
Which?
Long kiss goodnight.
Damn.
That's
Anyway.
it. That's it.
So the film is incredibly
What's the name of the
bleak.
character?
Samuel Jackson.
That's the actor. Anyway, it was his favourite character to play. Actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, the film is incredibly bleak. It has obviously a very iconic exorcism scene. I've pretty much covered this in
Yes,
the previous
yeah.
episode, but yes, that's my
Top.
number one.
Top number one.
Did you manage to figure out the cut we saw at the cinema? Was that just the extended version, or was there extra bits?
I think it was the director's cut.
Okay.
However, the runtime of it was shorter than the director's cut I've got on Blu-ray, but I don't know.
And is the
We'll have to do a
runtime is the runtime there? Was it including that little intro we had from that guy?
I can't imagine it would. I imagine it's just the intro is kind of a separate thing.
Okay, because they didn't do that on the other films.
No.
It was very interesting.
Okay, so
Good
So
film.
The Exorcist
Good film.
is number one.
by
I
the
still need to see the sequels.
By the way,
What?
Samuel L. Jackson character Mitch. There you go.
Oh, okay. Sorry. That's a Christmas movie,
That's a
actually.
Christmas- See,
Or,
that's
or
a
is it
Christmas-
an action
No,
movie?
it's a Christmas action movie. That's Die Hard. Die Hard is your ultimate Christmas movie.
We have to
isn't
do
it?
that on the.
So is Rambo.
December.
Rambo's a Christmas movie.
It's actually First Blood.
So is Batman Returns.
Rambo First Blood, yes.
It's just First Blood.
Oh, all right then.
Then the second one's Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Is Batman Returns a Christmas film?
Yes, because it's got snow.
Is that the one
And
with the
it's
penguin?
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Christmas movie.
Is it a Halloween film?
Because it's got Catwoman in it.
Because cats are the supernatural cats.
Super.
Oh,
I don't know.
God.
Anyway, we're going to
Batman Returns is on every list.
Come on. So that was your number one, The
Yeah,
Exorcist.
I could talk about The Exorcist
I've
for
got to
hours.
say, I was
We believe you. We
very
believe you.
tempted to put The Exorcist down myself, but I kind of thought maybe you would.
Yeah, I assumed.
So I
I'll be honest, it was in my honourable mentions because I didn't want to be that obvious, but I was like, I can't leave it out. If I'm going to an island with 3 movies, I can't leave my favourite horror film behind.
Yeah.
Okay. And yours was number one was obviously
Evil Dead.
Can you guess what mine is? So
Ooh.
this is
Ooh,
my number.
Can we
one.
have a guess?
The listeners are out there have probably got their own lists. And by the way, listeners, if you've got your own top 3, please, if you're on YouTube listening to us, put it in the comments or get onto Facebook.
Oh, I don't.
Stick your list
Is
of
it
3 down.
is it the animated film from 2006, Monster House?
No.
Just taking a wild guess.
No. Do you want?
Halloween film.
Okay. Is it the original Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee Dracula?
Is it Nightmare Before Christmas
Nope.
by Tim Burton?
No.
You're obsessed.
Although that was on a lot of people's lists online.
It's the perfect Halloween film, really.
But
because
don't you think it's more of a Christmas movie?
No, because
No, it is a
no,
Halloween
because
movie.
they in the town of Halloween. He goes from the town of Halloween to the town of Christmas. So you can watch it.
So maybe it's a November movie.
You can watch it on the bridge between
Yes.
Halloween and Christmas. It's
But
perfect.
that was on a lot.
I don't think I've actually seen that.
You should.
There you go. No. You'll have a howling good time watching this one. It's not howling. It is American Wolf in London.
Oh, but isn't that a comedy though?
That's not good. That is werewolf.
That is a
It's
good
supernatural.
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
American Wolf in London. It's an iconic movie when it comes to werewolves. It is the one. It is the most painful but incredibly fantastically well done,
Painful in a good way.
scene where he transforms from human to werewolf. No other movie has managed to hit it on the
Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
John Landis.
It's just absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. And again, I was there when it first hit the cinemas. I went there, I watched that in Watford with my mate and his girlfriend, and we liked it so much, we all hid in our seats in the aisle, and then when the next lot of people came in, we'd sat there and watched it twice in a row.
Wow.
Yeah, back in the days when you could hide in the cinema.
One of the things I appreciated more about that film, the older I get and watch it more, is like it's got a very gradual build-up of tension all the way through, and these things are getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And when you think it's about to be resolved, you get the ending, and it just cuts to black. You get Bad Moon Rising by Creedence Clearwater or whatever.
Revival. And that was the thing. I remember reading up on when it came out, and the director or the director of the movie, what was his name again?
John Landis.
John Landis. Yeah.
He approached film companies to make that, And they said, no, we're not making this because it's not a horror movie. As you just said, Zach, it's a
comedy.
comedy. And then other people said, oh, no, this is
Too scary.
This is too scary. This is not a comedy. And it took him quite a while to actually get the backers to make it. But that's, again, when that came out, it was like the perfect blend of horror, but with comedy moments in it. And I just absolutely loved that.
Yeah.
And the makeup, you know, the physicality of it. When his friend Jack is in the hospital.
Jack Goodman.
And his neck is like flapping
Well,
around.
he slowly becomes more and more rotting.
decayed.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's just, oh man, it is the ultimate werewolf movie.
It's also the American character sort of learning the British English ways of doing things while also dealing with this werewolf that's sort of like manifesting inside.
And Jenny Agutter, who can't not like watching a movie with Jenny Agutter in it, you know.
I mean, that werewolf is hauntingly creepy.
That is. See, again, it's strange because I've never been that keen on movies where they try and show werewolves as four-legged werewolves. I've always liked the Wolfman, and the blend between upright man and wolf. But that one, no.
Well, you hardly see it in actuality.
And again, you hear the howl, and that howl has not been matched for terror in any other werewolf movie. It's just so terrifying that just the howl alone.
Especially in the London Underground.
That's one of my favourite shots of all time, I think, is the underground.
And where the guy falls over on the escalator and drops his case, and you get this view down the escalator. And that was the thing. First time I watched it, I didn't clock it. Second time in that cinema, you notice just at the top of the screen,
very briefly,
it starts to come in.
It lingers for so long before you see it start to come in as well. It's sort of that like everyone's sort of waiting to see this creature,
and then you get these like little savage glimpses, of a mouth or something in the dark.
Well, I mean, especially at the beginning, that's where the tone kind of really kicks into gear, and that first initial attack on the moors.
And again, it's iconic things. How many times do people say, stick to the road?
Yeah. Or anytime anyone walks into like a local pub, it's always that scene.
Lamb,
the last dart goes into the board.
Where's the lamb? Where's the lamb?
You made me miss.
Hey, what's that thing on the wall? Oh, that's been there for years. It'd be a shame to take it down.
The taxi driver in it as well is Bricktop from Snatch.
Yes,
one of his early.
He is.
Have you heard about the murders? That's it. Horrible it is. It's like Jack the Ripper's back.
He wakes up in like a zoo. Yeah. And that's a funny connection, isn't it?
Because Sarah Downing
actually
bat specialist
worked with those wolves.
With those wolves.
Is that the ones in Withnail tonight as well, where he does the speech at the end to the wolves in London?
I can't remember. I don't know.
But, there you
That's
go.
a weird connection to our previous episode, the Werewolves podcast. So please go and check that out.
But again, it's just then it's the humour because obviously he's naked and he's in London Zoo and he has to steal a fluffy coat and he's standing there in
Mummy, a naked man just stole my balloon.
What are you? Stop making lies, kind of thing. Oh, it's hilarious.
And then of course Michael Jackson liked it so much he got John Landis to direct Thriller, where he turns into a werewolf and uses quite similar sort of techniques as well.
Yeah.
But that's it. American Werewolf in London. I mean, what can you say? It's absolutely superb.
Yeah.
Terrifying and funny.
I'm surprised that I didn't think of that.
I also think pretty much every werewolf thing since then has tried to replicate or beat that transformation scene, and it doesn't come close. I haven't seen any that have come close.
I mean, there's good werewolf movies. I mean, we're on to honourable mentions.
We are actually technically.
Why don't we just say Dog Soldiers? It would be a good
Neil Marshall.
We don't even see. Do you see the transformation? That it kind of goes behind a table, doesn't it?
Yeah, he does the classic hide behind something,
and then come up with the eye contact lenses and teeth. And
then he disappears, and then full werewolf.
Company of Wolves. That's a good one. They come out
that's
the
freaky.
Mouth.
That is, that is an iconic scene in Company of Wolves, and that's a movie that I think a lot of people haven't seen.
Never trust a man whose eyebrows meet in the middle.
That's it, monobrows. And that's a strange movie, and I always like that movie because basically, it kind of connects in a way to Labyrinth, the way it was filmed. The girl is playing with toys.
That's
and then goes into
thing,
that fantasy land, and the same with the girl who is obviously Red Riding Hood in that one.
Well, honourable werewolf movies, obviously The Howling, because that came out similar times as American Werewolf in London.
Apart from the ending.
Oh yeah,
The weird cute one.
Oh yeah, they should have done that differently.
we're not honourably mentioning Howling 2.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't get any better until sort of Howling 3.
I've got a massive list of honourable mentions. But we're talking werewolves. Silver Bullet.
I was going to go Bad Moon.
I've got Bad Moon down as well.
Oh yeah.
Can I get all my honourable mentions? Just list them out so we can.
Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah,
Throw them into the mix. Yeah.
throw them into the mix.
Okay, so my first honourable mention is 1976 Richard Donner movie, The Omen.
Oh gosh, yeah.
We
I've got
caught
that down.
the briefly on the TV the other day.
Caught a bit of that when Doctor Who got spiked by the.
Yeah.
No!
And I forget
He
his
didn't
name.
regenerate though. That was the problem.
No, he didn't.
I mean, it's because he had a big metal spike.
Yeah, see, honourable mentions. I've got The Exorcist down, so I've got the Omen on there as well.
Again, it's another one of those sort of 70s films that they never quite replicated after that. All the sequels have always been a little bit not great. My next one was actually Nightmare on Elm Street, which has already been mentioned, and then another Wes Craven in Scream from 1996.
Yeah, the first one, yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's not necessarily one of my favourites. I do enjoy it, and I enjoy the franchise. I think it's the ghost face mask that's become like Halloween, just the easiest Halloween costume you can do.
You can buy.
Yeah.
Right, my honourable mentions. 1958. I'm going to.
Ooh, way back.
Hammer Dracula.
Boom.
Christopher
There we
Lee.
go.
In America, known as Horror of Dracula.
There you go. But that's an iconic one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In personal opinion, I think Christopher Lee is the best Dracula.
Coming into the 2009, this I thought for me needed an honourable mention because I love the twist in it. Drag Me to Hell.
Oh.
Sam Raimi again.
Again, I like the effects that they had
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah.
The weird Romanian one-eyed woman, but it's just the twist in it was like,
There's one of those in every Dracula film as well, isn't there? Don't go up there.
That's it. I had the werewolves actually.
Wasn't the creature called the Lamia or something?
The Lamia, yeah, that was that goat thing.
Goat demon, yeah.
Yes.
Are we taking turns with honourable mentions?
Can do. Go.
Okay, well I've gone for Halloween 1978.
Fair,
Yeah,
fair.
yeah, again, I mentioned it before. I left those ones off my lists because they're just so Halloween.
Well, we're not.
They are Halloween.
We're not recommending Halloween 5 and 6. 4 just about maybe makes it, but 5 and 6 are terrible.
Again, we have done an episode on the Halloween franchise.
We
did that
have.
last year,
That
didn't
was
we?
last October, yeah.
There you go.
Go check that out.
Next one on Buzzers. We're just going to play.
Wait, okay.
I'm gonna-
The next one on mine, 1985,
Okay.
the original Fright Night.
Oh no, I don't have that. No.
With Jerry Dandridge living next door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
I haven't seen that enough, really. I've only seen it like once.
yeah. And I remember when I first saw it, it kind of jumped out to me because you had Vincent. What was his name? Vincent.
Peter Vincent.
Peter Vincent, and of course that was the actor. Can't think of the actor. Roddy McDowall, who obviously played the lead role in Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes, yeah.
And so it was great to see him in a movie
It
where
was
he's
very,
not actually doing something.
it was
like
very
that.
Peter Cushing-like.
Yeah,
Very
I
Peter
think that was the
Cushing-like.
thing. It was kind of like a twist on Peter Cushing, stroke Van Helsing, obviously.
But it also had a kind of almost a Lost Boys kind of vibe.
Have they have they remade that?
They did.
They
too.
did.
do a
They did
remake?
too. They've done 2 remakes.
Right.
Yeah, so that was your turn. Your turn for honourable mentions.
Okay, back to the slashers. I've gone for Toby Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974.
Thought about that, but because it's not supernatural, it didn't come on my list.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. It wouldn't be on my.
Horror, definitely.
Top.
Halloween, yes, you could obviously watch it at Halloween, but it's not actual.
Have you seen the latest Netflix Texas Chainsaw?
I haven't, but I did think for this Halloween, I would like to, because I've got all of the Texas Chainsaw films, but I've only ever really seen the first and the Michael Bay one, so I kind of want to.
I liked the second and third one pretty good. But the latest one, I didn't hate it. I liked it. I liked Leatherface in it, but I found the characters we followed throughout the story very annoying.
You wanted to kill them.
Yeah.
But I think what it is about the original one is, again, it's like what we talked about with Evil
It's
Dead.
shocking. It's shocking.
With Evil Dead, that is kind of that sort of grainy, low budget.
Again, I think it was one of the ones that was video nasty. that
Yeah.
got-
And
Yeah.
someone, I can't remember who it was, but someone described it really well as basically it feels like the family in the film have made the film, which kind of gives it that extra bit of
Yeah.
edge.
Again,
Yeah.
and I think the scare factor in that one is that fear that you are in the middle of nowhere. And there isn't anybody to save
Yeah.
you, kind
Yeah.
of thing, and you are at the mercy. It's a bit like when you get those small horror movies that kind of tried to, a bit like that one. What was the one up north in England? was it Inbred or something?
Yeah, inbred.
One with
Inbred. But
don't
again, they go to a very isolated community.
Yeah.
It's a kind of like a play on.
It's actually
Texas Chainsaw.
kind of similar to Hellraiser in a way that Pinhead was obviously in it, but he didn't become like the main character. But in Texas Chainsaw, it's kind of the family, and then Leatherface kind of becomes.
Go on, Grandpa, you can do it, Grandpa.
And Leatherface kind of becomes the main focus for the rest.
Yeah, I think in it was the 2013 one, Texas Chainsaw. I remember quite liking because it was literally just him.
Yeah, but let's face it, who wants to go to a Comic-Con or a horror fest dressed up as Grandpa when you can dress up as
Exactly.
Oh, have you seen? You haven't seen the second one, have you?
Not yet. I'm working my way through. No spoilers, please.
Okay, no spoilers. No
Right,
spoilers.
I'm going to jump back to 1978. This
What's
one,
that?
this is going to stump you two. The Legacy.
The Legacy. Is that something to do with a cat?
Nope. It has got a cat, I think, on the cover of the movie. Actually.
Interesting.
Poster.
Okay.
On the poster, yeah, but it's got Roger Daltrey in it from The Who,
Right.
and it's. What are you
I
thinking?
don't know, it's just kind of. It's just an
I
odd,
know it's quite bizarre.
an odd person there.
But no, I really like that as a horror movie.
Well, what is
Is
it?
it British? Is it British?
It's a British one.
Nice.
An American couple on holiday suddenly find they've been invited to a mansion house where it turns out that the girl is one of 6 other people that are going to inherit this legacy from this person who owns the house and the estate and everything. But they all start dying horribly.
Ooh,
you see.
this is worthy of a watch, I think.
And there's a twist at the end, but I'm not going to tell you any more than that.
Okay.
But it,
Okay.
but,
Whet
again,
our
it's-
appetite.
but it is. What I can say, it is to do with a pact with the devil. So therefore,
I'm
it
feeling
comes
there
into
might be an arrow, possibly.
comes into the horror.
Maybe.
Comes into the Halloween horror.
Okay,
Talking about
so-
cannibals again.
Were we?
Did we talk about cannibals?
Yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh,
Do they eat?
do they eat them?
Yes,
I don't think they're cannibals.
yes they are.
Do you know? I never really
They are.
considered that. I just thought that they just like
They put them on meat hooks and they don't just
made
cut them up
made
for fun.
furniture out of them.
Yeah, because
There's lots of furniture made out of bones.
Ed Gein, isn't it? The real guy who actually they went into his house and they found lampshades made of people
Skin
and
and
stuff.
everything.
Anyway, Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the hills have eyes.
Yeah,
That's an
nobody's
honourable
mentioned
mention.
that. I haven't seen the original.
Okay, not
I've seen bits of
supernatural,
the
but
remakes.
that's based on nuclear radiation. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
but it's kind of that cannibal kind of
yeah.
creepiness.
Yeah, okay. I can see you
Another
giving that an
sort
honourable
of-
mention.
It's Wes Craven again.
Yeah, that would have been. Would that have been a Vinny Nasty, or did it have a bit more money behind it?
Back in the day, it might have kind of been bumping on the edges of
More of an
Vinny
American one, isn't it?
Fun factoid.
And there's a poster in The Evil Dead, so we've come full circle.
It always has that chap in it. You know, the guy who appears in lots of different movies. He's got
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like
Weird
bald
science.
head,
Weird science.
Weird science.
He's
got
in
the
The
bald-
Guyver as well.
Fun fact: there is actually The Hills Have Eyes Part 3,
That's it.
which is not known by that many people because the title was actually renamed to The Mind Ripper.
All right.
There you go.
Check it out.
So my next one
Okay, Jen.
may be controversial in terms of whether it's a Halloween film. Is
I'm not going to be too picky.
is The Wicker Man from 1973?
Got that on my list?
Yes.
it counts.
I got it on my list.
Yes.
And I
'Cause
was
it's folk
kind of.
horror, isn't it?
It's folklore, but it's because you've got the island of people that go through all that
Yeah.
performance to get their ends because they believe that that's what's going to do them good.
Yeah.
Try not to do any spoilers if anybody out there hasn't watched The Wicker Man.
First of all,
But-
correct that and watch it.
But it's kind of like I couldn't make my mind up whether it's kind of witchcrafty,
But not.
it's not. It's more of a belief.
Yeah.
They believe it's going to do.
And that's the
whatever.
the scary part.
And you also don't know really by the end whether it did work or not.
Yeah, no,
No, 'cause
you don't. It's just the thing.
So The Wicker Man would have
It was on my honourable mentions.
it would have actually probably it'd definitely be my top 3 favourite of all time. I just wasn't sure if it qualified, so I didn't put it in.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I put
yeah.
it as an honourable mention. But it does
Same here,
qualify.
Same here.
Yeah.
So and I'm gonna. Then I jump to obviously we've had the Omen and the Exorcist, the Poltergeist or Poltergeist,
I want to see that again.
Another
last time
cursed
last time I saw that, I was really impressed.
because again it's one of those ones when you used to get a film that could be terribly scary, but it was almost made for kids.
Yeah.
You know, because back in those days, you could get away with that, making scary films that were genuinely scary and freak you out, but kids could watch them.
It's
It's the clown.
It's
It's
not
the
on my
clown that
list.
creeps about from under the bed.
It's not on my list, but I was gonna pose the question of whether or not you've seen Ghost Watch.
I haven't, no.
So the Michael
Is this a
Palin. Is it Michael Palin?
It's a
Not
TV
Michael Palin.
program or a film?
So it was a TV movie
Right.
that was released on the BBC with Michael Parkinson. That's his name.
Okay.
And it was basically like, yeah, no, I got the wrong Michael. But it's basically like a fake news report, and a lot of people.
It's ringing a bell, but I can't place it.
So it's called Ghost Watch. If you haven't seen it, go and Google it because it's a very interesting story, and it did fool a lot of people
Okay.
because they put a fake phone number up to say if you've experienced any paranormal activity during this program, call this number. And people would call it, and it'd give an automated message to say, "Don't worry, it's just a pretend, enjoy the show, or whatever."
Yeah.
But back in the day, everyone was calling it, and the lines got blocked, clogged. So everyone was calling it, and they were just getting the blocked signal.
Yeah.
Oh no,
So it caused a bit of a
bit of a hoo-ha.
yeah. But Ghost Watch is an interesting
Okay.
TV movie.
Okay.
That's
That sounds interesting. One of your favourites I put down on honourable mentions, The
Okay.
Shining.
yes,
Ooh,
Halloween.
Well, it is supernatural.
Yeah.
Their hotel is,
Yeah.
they are getting kind of possessed, if you like.
And you can do a good Jack Torrance as a Halloween costume.
that's pretty easy actually.
Yeah,
So I'm going to jump to another one there.
Okay.
Okay.
The Craft.
this is the witch one.
Is the which one?
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
like The Craft. I think it was really good.
the first one, yeah.
And the actress who plays the mad woman in it, she's the mad one of the three.
Yeah, I know the one
She's
you're talking
great.
about.
She's great. And I did like when they did
It's got Neve Campbell in it from Scream as well.
that sequel, didn't they?
The Craft Legacy.
Yeah, and she makes a little cameo at the end, which I thought was a nice touch.
Spoilers.
It's a bit,
That
it's
was
a
a
bit of a
spoiler.
spoiler. Bit of a
It was a
spoiler.
spoiler.
Doesn't really play in that much,
No.
but it kind of puts things into perspective.
I've got 3 more on my list.
Okay. Okay.
I have one
I've
or
probably got
two
about the
actually.
same.
Okay.
Actually.
Jack, let's let Zach have a go.
Okay. You were talking about The Shining.
Yep.
Snow.
Yep.
One thing we haven't really mentioned is zombie movies. So
Oh,
I'm going to go for
next one.
Dead Snow.
Yeah, Dead
Yeah.
Snow. Yeah,
I really
that's a
like
good
it.
Fun movie.
And that came to my mind earlier in the podcast when we were talking about.
Oh, was that the one that you?
Yeah, that was the thing I suddenly thought about.
When we were talking about Nazis, yeah.
No, when we were talking about The Descent.
Oh, we
When
cut.
did Nazis come
We
into it?
cut that bit, obviously.
we removed the Nazis.
They're zombie Nazis. The zombie Nazis
Yeah,
in the
okay,
snow,
Yeah, that's
and
fair point. We haven't
it's
had any
it's a
zombies.
foreign film, so it is subtitled. And then they did do the sequel, Dead Snow 2, Red vs Dead, and that became quite an international hit.
Do you know, I didn't put zombies down.
Yeah.
I was tempted to,
hmm
but most of the zombie movies I like aren't supernatural zombies. Things like, if you got Resident Evil, it's T-virus and things like that. So I thought, it's not Halloween.
Yeah. So my next film is actually a foreign zombie film as well.
Oh yeah.
From 2007. Wreck.
Oh,
Anyone
I
heard of?
haven't seen it.
No, I haven't seen that.
So it's a Spanish film called Wreck, and it's called Wreck because it's
Okay.
sorry, because it's basically short for record,
Oh,
and it's an amateur journalist, news reporter, following a firefighter team,
A fire
Uh,
team.
I think I've heard you mention this one before.
to an apartment building,
Right.
Yeah.
where the whole building is being very slowly taken over by zombies,
Oh.
and it's a very, very good found footage film.
Oh, so it's like Cloverfield. Right?
Yes.
Cloverfield
Or,
style.
Blair Witch Project. I would
The
think.
Spanish version, Wreck, is fantastic, and then the Americans remade it as a film called Quarantine, which is it follows very similar.
I didn't know that. I
it's
didn't know that.
Follows very similar beats,
That's
but
what this is about. It's the Now We Know show.
It's not
Now
quite
we
the
know
same.
show.
Yes.
It's actually a funny story. Do you remember Love Film?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Classic.
when I was younger, my sister subscribed to Love Film, and she ordered some DVDs because they would come through the post.
Oh
in
yeah,
little
I used
sleeves.
to love that.
Yeah.
That's why we used to use it.
And none of the films she ordered actually were the films she
Oh
asked
yes,
for.
they used to supplement them if
Yeah.
they didn't have them, did they?
So one of the supplement films was this film called Wreck, which we didn't know anything about because the disc was just black with Wreck on it.
Yes.
We ended up watching it, and it was this very scary Spanish zombie film with some really good sort of jump scares and creepy moments.
Love it.
There is now an Arrow release, so
Ooh.
track that
Oh,
down.
I
if you
might
haven't
have,
got a
to,
chance.
might have to check that out.
Brilliant. Right.
I think there's like quite a few Wreck sequels.
There is a few sequels. I think they get a little bit silly eventually.
Yeah, well, that's just my cup of tea, isn't it?
There's one at a wedding which is quite good, like a wedding video that turns
Oh.
into a zombie.
Okay. I'm going to go for a double barrel one on this.
Double
one.
barrel. Ooh.
Actually, again, because
nobody's mentioned Leprechaun 4 in space
I
yet.
don't know if this one classifies as supernatural or not. Really, depends on what you. But somebody comes back from the dead, so here you go. It would be the 1931 Frankenstein.
Nice, yeah.
But I was saying double barrel because I could combine with that Young Frankenstein because that's the comedy version. And I love that movie.
That wasn't released in 1930.
No, but I love Young Frankenstein. It's obviously Frankenstein, but it's the comedy.
Is that with the Willy Wonka?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I never
Willy
remember.
Wonka.
It's the abnormal brain.
What's it? Wild. I can't think of his name. You got me now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I can never remember his name.
Anyway,
Well, that's the thing. One weird thing about that is
Wilder.
I think
Gene Wilder.
I've
got that in.
I've attempted to watch that like twice, and I've fallen asleep every time. I don't know what it is about that film.
It's just Marty Feldman's in it, and it's like, whose brain was this? Somebody called Abby. Abby? Abby who? Abby Normal. I love that one.
That is funny.
The original 1931 Frankenstein is one of my favourite Universal films.
And that obviously spawned so many sequels.
Yeah.
And we not too long ago watched House of Frankenstein, didn't we?
You got Bride of Frankenstein and things like this as well.
Yeah. But as soon as you got that iconic Frankenstein,
The bolt through his neck. He
everybody-
never actually has a bolt through his neck.
everybody kind of copies
Yeah.
that.
But again, like we were saying with the Bela Lugosi Dracula, the iconography of Frankenstein now is based on that Universal big
And
square
then it
head.
jumps into the TV things with like the Addams Family and everything. They've got to have
The
the
monsters.
same kind of.
What do you think of the Kenneth Branagh, Robert De Niro Frankenstein?
I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen it.
Oh gosh, yeah, Robert De Niro one. Yeah, no, I didn't really.
It's a bit flat, isn't it?
Yeah. But anyway, Frankenstein, your turn. Get to the end there, guys.
Yes, I've got two more. I've gone for It from 1990, the original TV movie. It's one that I've kind of revisited a few times. It's kind of an alien.
Yeah. But that with Tim Curry.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, again, I love that. It was kind of that came out, and we watched it, as you say, on TV. At the same time, we were watching things like Salem's Lot.
Yes.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
And at that time on terrestrial TV, to see that kind of stuff was like, my God, this is horrific.
It's the yellow eyes and the yellow teeth.
And absolutely super. Great choice on that one.
Yes. And there's a few sort of, because Pennywise kind of plays on a few horror films. There's the scene where they go to the cinema, and he gets sort of chased by the Wolfman because the Pennywise is pretending to be the Wolfman. So, yeah, just thought we should
It's a good movie. It's a good movie. I wasn't so keen on the It Chapter 2 of the remakes.
I enjoyed Chapter 1.
The first one, that was good.
remake.
But then the second one just went
off.
a bit too plot heavy.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Okay, my final honourable mention,
Okay.
Ginger Snaps trilogy.
Damn, that's a good one.
You forgot Ginger Snaps.
No, they're bringing that out on Blu-ray as a trilogy
I
soon.
hope so, because the second movie I haven't seen in years.
Yeah.
It never seems to be available to watch the second movie. But Ginger Snaps.
It's a good
Familiar
choice.
with that one, Jay?
Good choice.
I know of it. Don't think I've seen any of them.
It's a good trilogy.
It's a good trilogy, and it's a great twist on the werewolf genre, and it all focuses on these two sisters. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
They actually filmed the second and third films at the same time.
Well, they did Ginger Snaps Back.
Ginger Snaps Unleashed and Ginger Snaps Back. They filmed it like together.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was nice because you get the same actresses.
I think it was the early 2000s. Early 2000s they did those.
And recently, didn't we see the actress who plays Ginger? Wasn't she in? Was she in Wednesday? Or am I thinking of a different?
Yes,
thing?
she was.
She was the school
headmistress. Maybe.
I think the headmistress is the original Wednesday Addams, isn't she, from the TV show?
Oh, well, there was one of them was she was definitely something.
She's in Freddy vs. Jason.
Oh, there you go then. But yeah, Ginger Snaps was my last and final horrible.
Well, if you're going down that route, I'm gonna mention, because I don't know if Jack's gonna suddenly mention it.
Well, I think
It's a
Jack,
film.
you finished?
I've got one more, but
It's a film we both love, and that is Brain Dead.
Oh
again,
yeah,
back to zombies. Yeah.
Brain Dead. Yeah, that's the rat monkey.
Peter Jackson. I love it.
Yeah, and you get, for those people who haven't seen Brain Dead, do watch it.
It's funny and
hilarious.
so over the top.
If you want over the top comedy horror, that is brilliant. And you actually get to see some of the locations that he went on to do Lord of the Rings at, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
I think if you can't find Brain Dead, look for Dead Alive, because that's like the European title.
Or look at the Spanish import as translates to "Your mother ate my dog."
Spoilers.
I was going to say, you have to say that with a Spanish accent.
Your mother ate my dog.
Okay.
Is that your Spanish?
Lots of Spanish films coming up. My final one.
Right, final one. This is where we're rounding off.
Bit of an anti-climax.
Hopefully not.
1999 Blair Witch Project, just because it was kind of the first of its...
Anticlimax, you're right.
Yeah.
I never got into that movie.
I mean, the film itself is an anticlimax.
Yeah, I never got into it. I watched it, but it just didn't. I thought I finished. I thought, what did I just watch?
It's one of those, like, do you know when
somebody with a snotty camera?
You know when you go to like an old, like, well, not anymore, but you go to like a video store and you see the covers, and the covers would like play on your mind.
Yep.
I think the Blair Witch was one of those. I had it on DVD. It was one of those ones that kind of...
Was it the picture of the girl's eyes?
Yeah. But I remember it kind of, again, having older sisters, it was like they were watching it and saying, "Oh, this is a really scary film," and yeah. Okay. So a lot of my horror comes from that.
The Blair Witch. Well, again, definitely a Halloween supernatural type movie.
Yes. And it's got a witch.
There you go. So for all those listening, I dare say you've got your lists out there. We'd love to know what they are.
Yeah, please comment below if you're watching on YouTube.
And,
I mean, there's probably loads that we've not even like scratched the surface.
But hopefully, the ones that we've chosen plus our honourable mentions have given our listeners plenty of ideas
food for thought
of things, if they haven't seen them already, to maybe chase them down and go and give them a try.
Should we maybe go through our top threes quickly, just briefly?
Mm-hmm.
So my top three, at number 3 was The Evil Dead, number 2 was Bram Stoker's Dracula, and number 1 was The Exorcist.
Mine at number 3, Evil Dead. 2, Lost Boys. Number 1, American Werewolf in London.
And my number 3 was The Descent. My number 2 was A Nightmare on Elm Street, and my number 1 was Evil Dead.
There you go.
Good mixture in there as well.
So, happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock. That's a reference to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which we didn't mention.
No.
Didn't mention that.
We didn't mention The Thing either, which we're going to go and see as of time of recording in a week or so.
But is that supernatural? It's more
sci-fi.
sci-fi horror, isn't it?
That's sci-fi horror.
I mean, we just didn't mention The Thing.
We did now.
No. There we go.
Okay.
John Carpenter's kind of a horror director. But...
Anyway, the thing is, we have to...
The thing is, he said it.
We have to now choose an exclusive episode
It's hat
topic
time.
from a previous episode that we're going to flash back to.
Out comes the deer stalker.
This is for
I'm
our
giving it a shake.
patrons and YouTube members.
Giving it a shake. There you go. Who's going to choose this time?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, Jack chose last time, didn't you?
I can't remember. I don't think I was in the last episode.
It was Glenn.
It was Glenn.
It was Glenn.
Oh, good old Glenn.
Okay, hopefully it's something scary. Oh, okay.
Could be scary.
It is.
What are we going to be talking about?
We're going to be flashing back to episode 31, which was Top 10 Xmas Gifts for Preppers.
That is going to be awesome to talk about.
It is.
Because that's the only podcast I can remember that got banned.
It is.
Oh my God.
There's a story there. There's a story there.
You're going to have to tune in and find out about that one.
Into that exclusive episode. So please join our
seriously.
Patreon and please become a YouTube member for that.
We're like Doctor Who. We've got missing episodes.
Actually, our Exorcist podcast was also cursed.
Ooh, you need to tell me about this. It's Halloween. Give me a brief. Why was it cursed?
It's because I tried to use the music for The Exorcist.
So
And
it's just
it got
copyright.
banned. It got banned.
But that wasn't the reason the Prepper one got banned.
No. That is a treat that we will save for our exclusive episode.
It's all those political views you were spouting.
Yeah, about Christmas gifts. That's the hilarious bit. Anyway.
It's not as bad as The Incident.
The incident.
We don't talk about The
We
Incident.
don't talk about the incident.
That's where the other presenter went.
Just keep your foot on that trap door, Jack.
Stop it. He's trying to escape.
Swallow your soul.
got
Swallow your
water.
soul.
That was another thing I was going to mention, sorry. There's a reference to The Exorcist in The Evil Dead, I think.
Really?
I think. Where she's in the basement, it says she says something like, "Your mother's up here," or something. But then obviously in the Exorcist, she's like, "Your mother's in here with us." Which I like.
Ah, yes. I see what you're saying.
Anyway.
Anyway.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. That's a spooky goodbye from Zach.
That's a happy Halloween. Goodbye from Buzz.
That's a creepy goodbye from Jack.
You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Keep up to date with everything ZWP on Facebook and Instagram, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. And remember to join us on Patreon or become a YouTube member for early access content and exclusive episodes.